What's going on, guys? I am back again today with another check-in video. This is going to be my week 11 check-in. So we're getting pretty far into the off-season growth phase right now. I would say about halfway, maybe a little over halfway, depending on what the timeline ends up looking like for the whole picture. We don't have a set time frame we're running, but it's all based on condition and how well things continue to progress, and obviously health metrics that are factored in alongside that. So right now, 11 weeks in, my estimate is a little over halfway or about halfway, but it might be a little under halfway. We might be pushing this out a little longer, closer to the 25, 26 week range. We'll end up seeing. But for now, everything is feeling great. I'm just gonna dive right into things. You guys kind of know what to expect from these videos now. So we're gonna start with body weights. Sitting at 217.4 fasted this morning. So we are up a pretty good amount. In fact, let me look at my check-in from last week. Last week's check-in day itself was a little bit higher. I was 218 last check-in, but my average is up, I think, about 1.5 pounds at this point on the average. So weight is moving up steadily. Very, very good there. My glucose, my blood glucose level this week, 81. Really big improvement over last week. Last week was 89. I think the week before and even the week before that were both 93. So we've seen a good steady decrease. This week was a great decrease after adding in a little bit more insulin on my week 10 check-in. We've now addressed the glucose a little bit. So that is really good to see. Blood pressure is 132/76. So nothing crazy out of the norm. Last week it was 128/79. It's about the same. It's getting to the point where after we add in my next compound, which is going to be a 19-nor, which is, NPP, we will probably need to bump up the telmisartan from 40 milligrams to 80 milligrams, a full dose from a half dose, just to address that. But for now, totally fine. And on the note of the NPP as well, nothing added this week, probably going to add it next week. No major issues for me this week. Everything felt really good. Training, specifically my pull day, felt awesome. Kind of my hardest day of the week so far was yesterday, which was my mixed leg day, my first of my 2 leg days for the week. That's most of my quad work, and it's hamstring focused, but incorporates the most quad work out of any day of the week for me. Whereas my other leg day is pretty much all hamstring with a little bit of quad. Overall though, feeling really good. Progression has been great in the gym. Food is still going down easily. Health metrics are holding very well. Body weight is moving up. Everything we want to see happen is happening. And it's happening at a really, really good rate. So I'm super happy with that. As far as the PEDs and the supplementation, like I said, nothing has changed. We did add some basic health supplements. We tripled the amount of omega-3s I was taking to help address my slightly low HDL on my blood work, which was about 2 weeks ago now. And then we also added a second dose of citrus bergamot to assist with that. Whereas before I was on 500 milligrams once per day, it's now 500 milligrams twice per day. So that is it from a supplementation perspective. No changes this week. Again, NPP, a 19-nor will probably go in next week, but not yet. This week, however, with nutrition, we did make changes. So training day, a pretty significant jump here with my second meal, which is, it's listed as my second meal on my plan, but it's actually like my 5th meal of the day. Instead of 370 grams of rice, we've moved that up to 400 grams of rice. And then with my pre-workout meal, instead of 350 grams of rice, that is also up to 400 grams of rice. Pretty sizable increase there, up to 4,085. So just shy of 4,100 calories on my training days now. Rest days, no changes again this week. Those are still right at about 3,100. So we're now running at about 1,000 calorie difference between my training day and my rest day. Pretty significant gap there, but it works well for me. And it kind of helps to regulate my rate of gain throughout the week. I've done it before where I've eaten the same thing on training days as rest days. And I find that it really just doesn't give me any room to back off and kind of let my body have a break from a digestive perspective. And having these lower rest days, while it just makes sense because I'm not training anyway, and we don't need the extra carb for the expenditure that's not there, It's also just a little bit of a break for my body, and it kind of lets my body relax from having that food intake, which again on training days is increasing. In fact, let me look at where we started. I started this growth phase at 2,800 calories on training days, 2,500 on rest days. So over the course of, what did I say, 11 weeks, we have added about 1,300 calories on training days. So a little more than 100 calories per week as an increase. Now, we're not making that change every week, but some weeks we might add 200, some weeks we might only add 100, some weeks we might just hold and then add a larger amount like 300. And that just kind of ends up working out to that sort of a slow increase in consumption over that period of time. So that is it for nutrition. We do actually have some training changes this week, and it's nothing crazy, nothing major, just adding one set to my hammer strength, single arm, high row to lat. It's always a mouthful to say, but it's the plate loaded hammer strength high row machine. And then on my back and shoulder day, we've added one set to my single arm cable lat row. So adding a little bit more volume for my lats to continue to drive growth there, while keeping the main focus of my pull day now around kind of my mid and upper back to kind of just really increase density and thickness throughout the back. Still have some emphasis on the width there. Again, driving more volume through the lats. You know, my recovery is great, so more volume, why not? But that is going to be it for the changes across everything this week, guys. So we're going to get right into this week's check-in review, the posing. So I'm just going to put all of my relaxed shots up here at once because I don't like taking the time to look at each of these individually. Relaxed shots are still something I am dialing in because it's been a long time since I did them. Everything looks good. I need to address a little bit kind of how my, you know, you'll see it here on my back relaxed shot, and in a couple of the other shots we'll get into today as well. I have a tendency to kind of shift my hip back to the left, and I need to kind of crunch down on the right side to correct my torso a little bit. It's just kind of like this drift I have with my hips or my torso, one of the two. But other than that, everything looks good. Condition looks really good for relaxed shots, so I'm very happy with that. You know, being 11 weeks into the off season and still holding the condition I'm holding feels really good. I'm really happy with where we're at there. Front lat spread. Happy with this week. Again, you'll see here, this is one of the poses this week I'm talking about where I kind of have that like right side of my body just lifted up a little bit. And I think that's, you know, after evaluating kind of how I'm posing, that's driving a little bit of that elevated right shoulder for me. It's not so much that my shoulders are actually having a discrepancy up here, you know, across the clavicle or at the shoulder level. It's a hip displacement issue. So I need to just drop that right hip a little bit and kind of crunch onto it. Think we'll fix everything up right there. But this is a good shot otherwise. Conditions holding, really happy with this. The added width to my lats has just been super beneficial for this shot in general. And now we can move on to my front double. So same thing here. As I was talking about, you'll notice the torso positioning here. I need to correct that, but overall conditions holding, really, really happy with this. No complaints here. And that's what you're gonna hear me say a lot of today is just conditions holding, because week over week, I look at these for fine tuning things, but there's not really a lot that needs to change right now. It's just keeping an eye on things, and specifically condition, and keeping an eye on condition to make sure that it is in check, especially as we get into these later phases of the growth phase where we don't want to push things too hard, too fast, and let that condition really get out of check and really get away from us. Nothing is going to hurt your off season more than pushing it too hard, because it's going to affect the next diet, the timeline for the next growth phase, the timeline for a show, all of that. Health metrics, the timeline you need to recover, everything. So don't get too fat. Side chest. This was a really good shot today. I feel like this shot, this side chest, was my favorite shot from today. This is how I want to hit this all the time. I feel like this was my ideal way to hit my side chest. This is the first time I've ever hit it and been like, this looks great. I don't want to change a thing. Super happy with this. Leg, just my hamstring has filled out a lot since we started to focus on my hamstrings and my back. Super happy with how that has added some width to the leg in this shot. I mean, it just looks great. Chest, rotation, everything is good here today. I gripped my hand a little bit farther forward. I know some people like to grab on the wrist. I gripped almost all the way up across like the palm and almost clasped my hands. That felt really good. And I feel like it helped me kind of get some extra rotation through the torso to kind of pull myself, to make myself wider and pull that non-dominant shoulder, I should say the dominant shoulder rather, back. So really happy with this. It looks good. Again, condition is holding. So happy with this as well. Side tricep. This is one shot I need to work on a little bit, specifically my leg positioning. I feel like my side tricep looks better from my right side by a long shot, but my right leg, I don't have as good of a connection with. I tend to kind of flare my right leg out at the knee, which makes it shrink down. So I need to think about pulling it in to give it more width, you know, kind of keeping, I almost want to say tension on the hamstring, but not actually actively flexing it. Regardless, more size also solves that issue. So we're going to add more size, but happy with how this looks from the waist up pretty much. And the condition, again, looking great for as far into the off season as we are. Turning around now and going into the back lat spread. This is another shot that I am just really looking forward to hitting every week now because it just looks way better. We've made huge improvements to my back. That has made a massive difference in how the shot looks for me. And even just posing it a little bit differently, like I started doing last week and followed up with into this week, makes it look a lot better. So really happy with this shot, really happy with how it's improved, and really happy with my conditioning from the back as well. Holding really, really well. Okay, now looking at my back double, this is a shot where you really see that torso drift that I'm talking about, that hip drift, come into play, and it just doesn't look great here. This is probably the shot I want to improve the most because I think it's going to be what makes a big difference for me in the long run, but I really need to make sure I correct kind of how I'm positioning on this and get that dialed in. Overall though, you know, I'm happy with how this has improved. Again, need more lat, but I'm happy with how it's coming up. Need more mid back, but I'm happy with how it's coming up. Everything is starting to look good. We just need a little bit more here. It's my weakest shot right now, I think. That's personal assessment. So I'd like to see this improve the most. But conditions holding, happy with that. And now getting into the final two shots, we have my ab and thigh, which I hit with one arm down. Again, this is always a good pose for me. I like how this looks. Condition looks great here. Not a whole lot to say other than I love this pose. This is one of my favorites, and this is how I like to hit it. Will it change? Maybe. We'll see. But for now, I think this looks good. And last shot is the most muscular with my hands on my hips. I need to change how I hit this a little bit. I think when I hit this kind of a variation with the hands on the hips, I really want to focus on flexing my lats too much and not bringing everything through my upper shelf out and making it pop, which is what I need to do. That's kind of the whole point of this shot, right? Rather than flexing out the lats. So I need to take away some emphasis from the lats and instead focus on hitting that upper shelf a little more, making it a little tighter, making it pop a little bit more. So I can improve there, but overall, happy with how this looks. And again, condition 11 weeks into the growth phase, super happy with it. So yeah, that is going to be the full rundown for the week, guys. I didn't get a PED series video out on Saturday. We had a hectic weekend, just a lot of stuff to do, and my dad's birthday was earlier in the week, so we were out and about for that, but I will try and get one out this weekend. I say try because as we are getting ready to move, you know, across the country here in a few weeks, my time is kind of dwindling. So as I have time, I'm going to try and get that going. If it's not started for a little while, we'll get to it soon. But for the time being, I'll continue to do my weekly check-in videos, my training videos, and the PED series videos when I can. And on that note, guys, until next time, take it easy.